Hey, I'm David from Revolt. I'm here with Luna Michelle, an aspiring DJ from San Diego who has definitely made a imprint for herself with such collectives as Obsidian. And with that being said, I'll let her introduce herself a little bit more.
Hi, my name is Michelle. I go by Luna Michelle. Luna was actually given to me by my dad because he used to tell me that I have a moon face. So Luna, cara de Luna, that will be my nickname. So I identify as Luna, so call me Luna.
Great. That being said, how did you get started with DJing and whatnot?
I started not started, but the first track I listened to, it's called Hey Boy, Hey Boy, Hey Girl.
Yeah, by the Chemical
By
Brothers.
the Chemical Brothers. Yeah, so I was pretty young back then. It kind of pulled me into that genre of music. But the first time that I really fell in love with electronic music, it was the first EDC in 2009 when I assisted. I fell in love with that.
2009.
2009.
Wow, how old were you then? That was a long time ago.
I was barely 18, 19.
Oh, nice. So fresh on the scene.
Fresh in the scene.
Great. That's really awesome. Was techno your first love at EDC? Or
it was not.
Else? Oh, really?
Yeah, so when I went there, I went to go to the dubstep stage.
Nice. Headbanger.
Headbangers, yes.
Cool.
I love metal music, so I love rock.
Nice.
So that's pretty much what encapsulated the genre that I like into electronic music.
Okay.
And then from there on, it evolved.
Okay. So what was the first piece of equipment you started using when you started DJing?
The first time I touched decks, it will be a Pioneer 2000, I believe.
Wow,
yeah.
So you graduated fast. Not even a controller or virtual DJ?
No, pretty much just jump in. I was part of a collective that pretty much did events. So I will always look what they were doing,
Right.
and I got grasp of that.
Okay, and what collective was that? Was that here in San Diego?
It was in San Diego, yeah.
Okay.
So the collective I was part of, it's called Divinity.
Okay.
So yeah, we used to host, they used to host events in TJ.
Wow, TJ Mexico, Tijuana.
Oh,
wow.
Yes.
That's super cool.
It was pretty fun. I had the time of my life. Events go from like 8 to like 8 in the morning. It was fun.
No, I'm Mexican, so I know there's no time limit on when the party ends.
And then you get the food in the morning,
Exactly.
the tacos.
Exactly, tacos. That's really great. Okay, so you're part of a collective. When you started playing, what really inspired your style?
I really like the down tempo. Well, not down tempo, but I really like the groovy part of tracks. I like to include some dark aspects into it.
Okay.
And hypnotic,
Nice.
Groovy and hypnotic. But
what range would you say you were usually
BPM.
playing? Yeah, your BPM.
Back then, I would say I will go 125.
Oh, nice.
125, 128 maximum.
Right.
Now the time changed and I went to 128, 130.
Okay.
That's my
Your limit.
My limit that I really enjoy, And of course, when it's a specific type of event, I will go up to like 150. It all depends.
So you're very versatile in that sense.
Yes.
That's good. That's really good. Okay, so when you started out, which artist inspired you when you first started entering the DJ space?
That would be Nina Kravitz for sure.
Okay.
Yes,
Nice.
she brought me in with her whole presence of, girl boss coming in decks.
She's definitely one of the first female DJs that really blew up in the scene, and then Emily came, then Charlotte came, and it was like a whole pool of other people, right? But
Yes.
Nina was definitely one of the first recognizable names in the DJ scene. So
Exactly.
that's awesome. Okay, when you are building a set, what's your creative process?
I like researching the collective I'm going to be playing for, what type of event, the audience, what they like. Then from there on, I just go into the digital crates, start digging and selecting, putting folders, buying the tracks, and then listening to each individual track when I have the time, playing it in the car.
Right.
And then the day of the event, pretty much just go with the flow.
Cool.
I already need the knowledge of the track of what I'm gonna be bringing. I just need to go with the flow that same day. It's like a little rush of like I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then it just
Yeah, I think the important part of DJing when you're planning a set is it's not so much that you're pairing everything in order. It's just you just know what mixes well together, right?
Exactly.
So
yes.
even if for instance, the crowd's already hyped, instead of curating your mix the way you wanted, you could start at a track that meets that vibe already, right?
Yeah, it gives you the time to analyze what the crowd is liking. That's why I like having a big pool of a big selection of tracks that I selected for that specific night. If something that's not working, then I may have another folder that that could help out.
So you kind of create multiple playlists just in case one doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't go more than 2 playlists though.
Okay, cool.
But I do have a big collection, so I can jump in. Probably if something's not working, then I'll go back and say, okay, let's try this track.
Nice.
And if it works with the audience, then perfect. If not, then you got to be versatile. There's a fun of mixing live, I think.
That's good. Okay, so with that being said, who's a female DJ that you admire and why?
I think I said Nina Kravitz for sure.
Nina Kravitz.
Yeah, Nina Kravitz. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm so sorry. We can delete that part.
No, we're good. We're good. Yeah.
It will be Emily Luntz.
Okay.
For sure, Emily Luntz. Mostly because she is a mother. I identify myself with her. Mostly because it is not easy managing this lifestyle with, educating another human being, and caring for them and putting in the time for your family and this lifestyle. It's tough. So
essentially, you admire Emily because you actually became a mother recently, right?
Yes.
And how do you balance your DJ life with family?
Well, at the moment, I have to prioritize my family first.
Correct.
But of course, I'm still trying to find, ways of time of where I can look for music and go out and support. It gets a little bit tougher because I do have to be a little bit more selective of who I go and support and when.
Right.
I wish I could have the time and the
energy.
Yeah, to go to every single one. Yeah. But yeah, it's mostly in the San Diego scene. There's a lot of things going on every day. I bet here in LA as well. It's a lot of good local talent that's out.
Right. I feel by being a mother, there's definitely a lot more responsibilities that have surfaced. Right. So it's not like you can just go out every weekend. So you have to be more intentful with where you go. Right.
Yeah, and that comes with sleep. That I do sacrifice times of sleep in order to have both of my passions. Of being a mother and then going out and supporting.
So if you're not staying up listening to music, you're staying up with your child, right?
Exactly, cleaning out the house, just the general.
That's very awesome. That's really
household
great.
Stuff.
So how has becoming a mother changed your approach to DJing?
I would say it's slowed me down.
Really?
And I would say that now I go in between, the 128, 130s. Mm-hmm. That's where I feel more invested in, that I can fully put in my whole being.
Right.
Because before I would really enjoy going fast, and that hard techno. It's very draining.
Of course, it could be for some after a while.
After a while, yeah. It's a great genre, but it does require a lot of energy. So I think in a sense, and I did notice that recently, that it slowed me down a little bit, and I'm also very selective of the tracks that I'm trying to provide.
Right. So, I've heard some of your mixes. They can go from like really dark minimal to like driving, and then like sometimes you'll throw in like a really long breakdown. Can you like explain how you go about that process or what you try to like aim for in your mixes?
So I'm gonna speak about the mix that I provided for Revolt.
Great. Okay.
What I wanted to showcase in this mix is that I started a little bit faster. I went 140. So I wanted to bring in a little bit more of like the high-paced beats to it. And then I slowly ended up with 128. So I started fast and then going slow. So pretty much resembles of how my life is going right now. I was really selective with the tracks that I brought in. Yes, it took me a lot of recordings.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, it took
course.
me a lot of recordings to finally take it down. But I can say that it pretty much encapsulates my whole life right now, and I wanted to share that with Revolt.
That's really awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely one thing that I've realized just DJing and whatnot, being part of the scene. Anybody can keep trying to go faster, right?
Yes.
But towards the end of the night, when the event's almost over, how can people bring it back down so that these people
Yes.
feel like reinvigorated and being like, damn, Luna Michelle really brought it home. Like we're like smashing at one point, and all of a sudden we're listening to like some ethereal kind of like melodic stuff. Like it's really a talent that I don't feel a lot of DJs can really do, because 140 to 128, that's a massive
It's a
change
massive
of tempo. But hey, if you're able
Exactly.
to execute it, that's really awesome.
Yes, it was fun.
Nice. Okay, how has your perspective of the music industry changed when becoming a mother?
I don't know it internationally because I don't research it that
Mhm.
much. I'm not really that deep into what happens in the music industry, but I'm going to speak about the San Diego scene. LA, I think it's a little bit different. I do believe that San Diego wants to bring in LA
Right.
into the scene. I see it that as a little bit more high paced. New generation is coming in.
Right.
The genre is changing, and the OG DJs that have been in the industry for a while, I can see that they're being pushed a little bit to the side. The new generation is now all social media, and it pulls a big pool of people. It's not filtered, unfortunately. That about the people that really are there for the music.
Correct.
And for the right reasons. But I do see that it's changing. It's evolving. It's revolving. It's a new generation. They should, keep supporting the OGs that started, that keep this community going.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is with this new generation that's coming, I mean, do you think that these influencer DJs who, do you think that they pose, that these influencer DJs who pose and dance, do they essentially discredit other DJs who are really about the music and really about, creating a journey versus like slamming, that 140, 150 techno? Like how would you speak about that?
It's to each their own, so DJs that post, that they pull a certain audience to their platform,
Right.
There's a big pool of DJs out there,
Right.
and everybody has
They have their own kind of way of entry to the scene, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. And
I did not like that answer.
You're good. All right,
I
I'm
was
gonna answer it
struggling a
again.
little
I'm
bit.
gonna ask it again. We're good, right? If I go over, count it down. So, do you think influencer DJs who pose and dance instead of DJing, do you think they discredit other DJs?
I wouldn't say discredit. To each their own, I do feel like it's a little bit disrespectful to the craft.
Right.
Just because it's about the music and not the looks.
Right.
And it's the new generation is not fully understanding that.
Right.
Because we're so used to social media now being like the main focus of like you gotta put a face to
Yeah,
something.
it's like somebody who has thousands of followers is gonna get booked over like your local hero.
Yes.
Even like yourself. When I first discovered you, I found you through a SoundCloud mix, and I didn't even know what you looked like.
Exactly.
And I go to your social profiles now, and I don't even think you have any videos of you jumping or dancing or like, you're kind of zoned in if I do see any of, your kind of content. But also I realized too that you don't make it a priority. It's kind of something that you just put when you have an event. But where you see these other DJs, they're really focused on, social media and posting, and it's kind of sad because you're seeing this shift in the approach of being booked is more, it's more geared to these extroverts versus, introverts like yourself, or even, one of our DJs, Jesus, he's a Revolt resident, shyest guy I know, but you know, you put him behind a pair of decks,
And
he
then
just kills
destroys
it. But you know, because he's not posting social media every day, I mean, does that kind of like remove his right to essentially play, right? And just like yourself, you know, I mean, you, who else, Toka, right, in the San Diego scene, you know, I very much admired you girls because you guys totally, like, I've seen you guys behind decks and you guys honestly make magic. And it's really inspiring to see because there's also been the other side, right?
Exactly.
Where I've been to shows and then we've seen, you know, not just female DJs do this, but there's all other male DJs, right? Where, you know, they're bumping their fists or doing whatever, you know, they're being so loud with their hands while there's like all these transitions going on and you're just kind of wondering like, yo, is this pre-recorded or is this, you know, is this genuinely like the mixing? And I don't know, at least you can elaborate more, but at least for me, I feel kind of deters someone who's about the music from getting booked because if they're seeing, hey, that's kind of the trajectory, they're kind of going to feel like, well, why am I even doing this if, you know, I'm doing this for music and people are getting booked for the wrong reasons, right?
Exactly. And I can add to that. I do know that the audience likes looking at the DJ, you know, and it is understandable. But when the DJ is just doing it about, you know, themselves, it can kind of, you know, does not feel genuine.
Of course.
And of course, many are going to get booked because of that. But what I keep myself in mind is that it's going to get tough. It's a big industry. It's that there's a lot of, you know, DJs out there that they want to get the opportunity to, you know, be on stage. There's a few that are really doing it for the music,
right?
You know, and they're not going to be posting it every day.
Yeah, who has time for that? We're DJs. We're not social media like creators. We're not, you know, graphic designers. But it's almost like you have to embody these things just to make it. Where we're idolizing all these bigger names who have, you know, content teams behind them, publicists, PR people. But for the local DJ, you know, that's just trying to make the next production, right? That's trying to put out the next mix. It's overwhelming to look at, you know, some of these other DJs who don't even have a self-release, right? Who are just posting every day, they're getting booked, and you're just like, wow, all right, well, especially in the underground scene, it's like, do we entertain that, or do we essentially, for lack of a better word, do we revolt against that kind of idea of, yeah, that's the way that the industry, or that's the way the culture is going, let's go that route. But given that, you know, this is techno and this is underground, it's kind of hard to believe that a lot of promoters are playing that game versus being like, you know what, hey, we might not get, you know, our events flooded with people, but at least we're nurturing the scene.
Exactly. Right? That's something I'm really big on, and that's why I like really intimate parties, you know, because the people that are going to be there, it's not going to be a lot, you know, that the dance floor may not be full. Right. But at least the people that are there, they love the music. Yeah, you know, that they're there for the right reasons. Yeah. And that always fills my heart, you know. Right. It fills my heart more than seeing a big pool of people just, you know, raging. It's cool to see them dance, you know, but if they're just doing it under the influence just because they're feeling it, you know, it's cool.
Yeah, we've all done it.
To each their own.
We've all done it, yeah.
But it's more enjoyable when people are there for the right reasons, you know, and also to be surrounded with like-minded individuals.
Right. I mean, how do you build a community with people who are just essentially using the underground as an excuse to just kind of like escape, right? Whereas, you know, I mean, if you've been going to rave since 2009, I've been going to rave since 2015, like, you can go to an underground show and meet a bunch of people and have a great time. And you didn't have to even know, you know, the face of the artist, you know, like, but now it's almost like the way that these promoters are marketing these events, it's solely based on the artist, not about the event itself, not about the community. And it's kind of, you know, deterring a lot of people, a lot of OGs, as you said, away from what's coming, right? So. And
it kind of discouraged them in a sense, you know, and I've seen it a lot in the San Diego scenes with the OG DJs, you know, they even though they produce really, really nice tracks, and San Diego, I think, is more dominant in the house and tech house scene.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know? So I've seen a lot of OG producers are just like, hey, well, I'm not a promoter, so I'm not going to be posting a bunch of my pictures, you know? Right. So, and they still put out their tracks, and, you know, if they're right there the right people to support them, then
Yeah, I mean, obviously me being from LA, I whenever I look at San Diego, everybody always thinks Crossed, right?
Yeah, now.
But I've only known San Diego for Crossed, and I'll be honest, versus LA, like we haven't really had something like Crossed here, like because LA is notoriously known for the warehouse and underground parties, whereas like you go to San Diego, you see a lot of these college and university, students going across, and it feels more like a party rather like an intimate kind of thing, like a warehouse kind of vibe, right?
Yeah, and there's been underground events in San Diego too, like in tunnels. But unfortunately, with those type of events, the audience does not get filtered. So a lot of like college kids, and it's cool, I have nothing against it.
Yeah, of course not.
But you can feel the whole vibe. It's different, and
Right.
sometimes it doesn't click.
Of course.
It could be really good music, but when the audience is not really in there for the right reasons, you can tell.
Yeah, it gets really messy really fast. And
Yes.
it kind of sucks because, again, like back then, if people were dancing or people were high, at least for me, you'd go check and be like, hey, man, you need a water? And I had no problem buying a stranger a water. But now, like you see somebody passed out on the floor, there's a lot of cameras pointing at that person and being like, oh, shit, look at this dude. And it's like, that's not really about the culture, right?
Yeah, no, I do feel that Plur, it's a little bit dying, dying in a sense, and new generations may not even be aware of it.
Right, or they laugh at it, right? They essentially be like, Plur, that's so cheesy, that's so lame. But at least for me, the foundations of what rave culture was very much about community. It's very much about taking care of each other. And sometimes, it kind of irks me when a lot of these events that I've attended, it's kind of like promoting like sex or drugs, and it's kind of like, well, is that this culture is more about it's more about community than that.
Exactly.
And it's kind of like people are seeing things on like social media of like these clips of people raging or high or doing stuff, and it's kind of like watering down the culture of the underground because it's like they're stuck in a rave is what I see in the 30-second video on TikTok versus like actually experiencing it in person. So it's crazy how like social media plays a role as to like what the expectation of a rave is versus people that used to rave prior to social media, right? Or when we weren't on our phones, we were just going to these events, right? They didn't really play like a predominant like feature of like, we have to record everything. But lately you've been seeing that everybody going to these events, like the first thing they do is pull out their phone when they arrive, pull out their phone when they're in line. And it's kind of like you're killing the aspect of meeting the person next to you because you're so glued on your phone rather than focusing on like, the moment.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, with that same change and the way that influencers are kind of, I guess, essentially shaking up the scene, do you think people put more pressure on female DJs than they do on male DJs?
I would say yes. I can't speak about myself, I've been blessed of surrounding myself with people that have given me the opportunity. I've never felt judged or misplaced. But I can see in other cases that there's someone behind a female DJ seeing to see if they're really doing the thing.
Of course.
Mixing in, and there's pressure for sure. Because in a sense we have to prove ourselves, which we shouldn't.
Of course.
Because we're all equal.
yes, of course you are.
In the industry. But yeah, there's a difference in there.
Okay. Do you feel like you've had many obstacles being a woman in a male-dominated industry?
It's just bringing back the being surrounded with the right people. Not me. I've surrounded myself with collectives are with good intentions, and also I'm very selective. If I don't vibe with it, you
don't do it.
Don't do it.
Okay. And I mean, obviously I highly doubt this is your experience, but have you ever experienced a time where you felt your booking was based on a romantic expectation?
No, never, luckily. But I've seen other cases as well with other female DJs. And, my only recommendation is if our gut always tells us something, there's always like a little flag. If you don't vibe with it, just don't do it. It's not worth your energy and you know, you're being
Yeah, I'm
being
sure
put in that
there's
situation.
yeah, I'm sure there's definitely like a heightened sense of security as a girl going to a show, right? Versus
Exactly.
as a man, you know, I mean, I've been invited to play in the desert before, and I don't think twice about having to bring somebody or who's going to be there. I'm just like, all right, I'm ready to play.
Yeah.
But obviously, again, yeah, being like, you know, a woman DJ, it's a lot different, right? Because you don't know what the expectation is, and I think, yeah, that's really important that, you know, a lot of these, you know, rising women DJs take into consideration is like not trying to compromise, you know, your safety for a booking, right?
Exactly.
That's so important because I haven't experienced it or, you know, seen it, but yeah, I have heard stories about girls that go to these events to DJ and then something goes south and who are they with, you know, who
Yeah,
can take care of them.
unfortunately, you never know. And for example, I travel by myself to some events,
Wow.
and it could be intimidating, you know.
Right.
And I don't like having it in the back of my head, but there's a lot of dangers out there
Of
that
course, of
surrounds,
course.
you know, that many things could happen.
I mean,
But
whether or not we want to admit it, this there is drugs in this scene, and people are not always in the right
exactly.
state of mind. So
Mhm.
it's just something to definitely be wary of. Okay. Are there any particular aspects in the industry that you view differently now? I mean, I think we kind of tapped in about it.
We
You know.
did, yes,
Yeah.
and I would say still, you know, that social media has taken over, you know,
Right.
or attention spam. So I do think that people are used to now doing everything fast,
Right.
you know, and looking at the industry, a lot of people are trying to cut
Corners.
cut corners, yeah,
Yeah, of
cut
course.
corners, and then just go in there and just be on top. When there's steps, you know, that you have to follow.
Right.
You gotta pay your dues. You know,
Right.
you can't be playing a prime time and you barely started. You know, you could,
Right.
but there's a level of respect too that
Of course.
it's a understanding within DJs.
Right. I think you know, one of the things that kind of surprises me now is like a lot of these DJs who don't even produce their own tracks, they want to get paid. And I don't even know how many years in my DJ career where I didn't get paid and I would just show up for exposure. Not to say that's right,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like I know, not because I'm not confident in my music or my mixes, but like you said, you have to earn that spot. You have to
Exactly.
earn those things, right? But you know, the times I try to book people for Revolt, or the times that, you know, I've heard other collectives trying to book people. Some of these DJs are just like, yeah, I want $200 an hour, and it's just like, oh wow, it's very great that you think so highly of yourself, but you got to walk before you can run.
Exactly.
You know.
And it's something that I do, you know, and
Mhm.
and I see this. I don't do it full time.
Of course. Okay. So, how do you manage self care and maintaining your own well being while juggling both lifestyles?
No sleep.
All right.
Well, I wouldn't say no sleep, but sacrifice sleep. You know, it's an important part of, you know, your being and being sane.
Right.
But there's so much time that you have in a day that if you want to juggle both lifestyles, you know, you gotta sacrifice something. It's not easy, but always you have to prioritize some time for yourself.
Yeah.
You can't be giving, and you know, you also got to.
Yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup. Essentially.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's good. What challenges have you encountered in finding balance, and how have you overcome them?
Um,
Take your time.
I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous. I'll ask it again. You ready?
Okay.
Okay. What challenges have you encountered in finding balance, and how have you overcome them?
Mostly getting used to, you know, the new routine of my life is not the same.
Mhm.
You know, it's not only me.
Right.
So getting over that, I want to teach my son
Mhm.
that you can do both. You know,
Right.
you can't leave your passions behind
Yeah, that's good.
just because challenges come in.
Mhm.
You know, and I wouldn't say my son is a challenge, but personally, I could say I'm a lazy person because
Okay.
I like conformity.
Right.
Yeah, I conform.
At least
you
you're
know?
honest. Some people
Yeah,
don't admit that, so
I
that's good.
enjoy it. You know, I love playing video games.
Yeah.
I like getting those times in between,
Right.
enjoying the downtime.
Right.
But if you really have to put in the work, then you gotta sacrifice
Yeah.
some stuff over others.
Yeah,
So
that's-
the challenges is just knowing what to select.
Yeah, I think that's very important too. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of us want things, right? But there's the other part of like, what are we willing to sacrifice to get it?
Exactly.
You know, and let me go even further. That's been said several times. What are you willing to sacrifice to get what you want, right? But how do you not compromise your values in between?
Yeah,
that's never
key.
discussed, right?
Yeah, that's never
right. People will, you know, cut corners, like you said, to get what they want, but you know, are they compromising their own values? And I think that speaks a lot about, you know, certain DJs in the scene, or just, you know, people nowadays, versus like not wanting to work hard and to do things, you know, the right way or in the proper steps. And I feel like we're kind of going back to that, you know, earlier statement of like everyone's just trying to like do things easy or fast, and sometimes you know the best things in life take time.
Yeah, a lot of people are not really into working for it.
Yeah, but you're definitely doing a great job.
Trying.
No, you are. Okay, so what advice would you give to an aspiring female DJ?
I would say just go for it. Go for it. It gets tough. There's gonna be times that you really want to quit, just because of what you see once you're in the scene.
Right.
But just keep pushing, dig for music, you know, get in the zone by yourself.
Right.
But keep pushing.
Okay, I'm gonna pry here a bit, but for you, when you first started, what do you remember the most that was like the most intimidating as joining a male dominated industry?
I would say just being on decks and making the dance floor, you know, not making the dance, but making them dance.
Yeah, of course.
There's a lot of pressure. It gets scary.
How did it feel the first time you actively were behind the decks and you saw people, you know, groove into your sound?
Well, it was a beautiful feeling, but it was very nerve-wracking.
Right.
Of course, it was not flawless. I had my mistakes in there, and you know, we're always going to be our worst critic.
Always.
So I would just say that the first time I played a set, it was very intimidating, and I believe it was in TJ.
Yeah, it must have been more intimidating, huh?
Yeah, because honestly, the audience, they're very they're good critics. They know the music. They do know when you're messing up. Yeah. And they will let you know.
Of course.
Yeah, so they worry about the music, you know.
That's good. So basically what I'm hearing is when a new woman starts her journey on DJing, it's just not to be nervous and feel just as empowered as any man behind those decks, right?
Exactly.
That's good. Good. Okay. So right now, because it's Women's History Month, right? Who are some women that you highly admire in your personal life?
I would say my mom and my aunt. My aunt Vero.
Okay.
They both. My aunt is like my second mom. You know, them both. It's been such a blessing to have around, because I would say it made me who. It didn't make me who I am, but it inspired me of who I am and how I present myself.
Right.
They always show up even though they're not feeling good. You know, it's something that inspires me. Of
course. Yeah. I mean, again, we see from the music that, you know, you select for your mixes, and even you behind the decks, like, yeah, you definitely always show up. And now that you have a baby and you're here doing this interview with us, like, that's also you showing up. And I definitely want to give you credit where it's due, because I think a lot of the guys and I really respect and admire you. So, cool. So yeah, with that being said, Luna Michelle from San Diego, is there anyone you want to give shout outs to that you feel like could use some love?
Yes. So to all the San Diego scene, to be honest, there's a lot of DJs out there. I can mention, I can mention a couple, but mostly because they're close to me. But it doesn't mean that I do not remember you. But it will be for sure Toka. She's been my number one since the beginning. I would say Jesus the Punk. He's a great house DJ. The productions this guy does, it's quality.
Great.
I would say Sarah B. She's been killing it in the game as well. Gone unnoticed. And I would say Technique Family. I'm gonna talk about collectives now. Technique Family. They've been doing it for years. I've always admired them. Obsidian family too. It's they're the fam. Yeah, many more.
That's good. Well, yeah. Thank you again for being with us today. She has a mix coming out on the 27th for Revolt Transmissions. Also, SD family. If you guys ever feel like submitting a mix to us, just go ahead and visit our page, our Instagram page, Operation Revolt, and there's a link for that as well. Thank you.